Do you want to be better at having political conversations with your relatives? My name is Xavier, and I will be discussing how the nature of sources affects confirmation bias and how that affects polarization in our country. Although confirmation bias will emerge regardless of source, the quality of the source will affect how one processes that given information. Furthermore, one's motivation to check their gut feeling affects the level of confirmation bias present. I will be discussing a research paper on the topic of confirmation bias, what current research is investigating and its findings, and how I can apply that to conversations with my brother in the future. My article is titled Confirmation Biases and Selective Exposure to Political Online Information, Source Bias versus Content Bias. The article investigates the roles of source cues versus content cues for confirmation bias and their role in polarization. The source is where the information came from, while the content is the information itself. Polarization refers to the extent on a topic to which opinions on a topic are opposed, and cognitive reflection is the tendency to check intuitive errors. This article expands on the topic of confirmation bias, which is in Chapter 6, Perception. Confirmation bias is the tendency to accept information that confirms what you already believe. The research question presented for the experiment questions if confirmation bias will be more present in slanted or biased sources compared to unbiased sources, and present several hypotheses that suggest it is dependent on cognitive reflection. The researchers found that confirmation bias emerges regardless of the quality of source, and discovered that it is dependent on the cognitive reflectiveness of the person. In other words, the amount of confirmation bias someone will have depends on their motivation to correct a gut feeling. How this applies to my relationship with my brother, I will have more empathy with my brother and be more aware of my habits while discussing politics. We struggle with maintaining objective conversation when having these natured talks, as we are both quick to subconsciously frame it in a way that favors our own point of view. But by being aware, it takes a conscious effort to be objective. That will motivate me to be more skeptical in the future when reading political content online. Along with this, that will also make me a more active listener when discussing politics with my brother. I hope to present this research paper as well to my brother, so he can gain more empathy when engaging with me in politics. Although, to recap everything, although confirmation bias will be present no matter what source you are given, it is important to recognize that the quality of the source will affect how you process the information. And yes, one's willingness to be skeptical affects confirmation bias as well. I discussed a research article about confirmation bias and used its findings to analyze my relationship with my brother. Now, it will no longer be 5 minutes before I want to whack him. It'll be 10 minutes.